How to pitch a retainer the right way. So usually you do two mistakes. The first one is trying to convince your prospect without understanding his situation first, without analyzing the pain points. And the second mistake that you do is you only see the situation from your perspective. You are able to see the benefit for you, and this is the way you sell it. So basically, the more you give, the more I give, which shows that you don't really understand the main reason why you should be working on a retainer basis, which is not being rewarded for your input or some of the work you did, no matter whether or not your candidate is eventually starting at the client, unlike contingency recruitment. No, the main reason is securing a commitment. And why it is so important? Because you want to be in the best conditions to help your client. And to do so, you want to avoid a client who is unsure or hesitant but pretends otherwise. You want to avoid a client who is testing the waters or benchmarking. And above all, you want to avoid a client who is not taking this seriously, who is not investing himself, so you can focus on those who really need your help. Once you will really understand that it is in your client's best interest, then selling retainers will become a second nature to you, because you can only sell if you understand the need, if you understand the challenge, if you understand the pain. And to do so, you need to ask questions. And it is the first stage. To every prospect, I will ask the following question. Is it the first time that you will be working with an agency? If it is not the first time, what did you like? What didn't you like? And it is really an important question because it is here that you can analyze the pain point. Was it the lack of reactivity, the lack of follow-up, the recruiter not hitting the mark, the lack of transparency, etc.? And also I will ask on which basis did you work? Was it on contingency, on exclusivity, on retainer, etc.? What do you expect from an agency? For how long have you been looking for this profile? In your opinion, what makes it so hard to find the right profile, and what would be the solution? And a very important question, what happens if the role remains open for the company but also for the hiring manager? Those questions will help you to identify the pain points, and only now you can sell and pitch your retainer. And now for the second stage, I want to understand why the client is working the way he works. And I want to know the real reason. Because let's say, for example, that the client is working on contingency and I ask why. And he tells me, yes, it is because I like having choice. That is not the real reason. That is an objection. And I need to have the real reason so we can have a real conversation. And so I will ask him why again until I finally get to know the real reason. And it could be I want to maximize my chances to find the right profile, or I don't want to commit myself not knowing if you are able to deliver good profiles. And now we are at the third stage, the stage where we know what are the pain points, but also what are the main prospect concerns about a way of working? And with the right questions, you can make him realize that working on a retainer basis is the best solution for him. And here is how I approach this. Mr. the client, may I ask you, based on what you told me earlier, and here you introduce the pain point, so it could be the lack of reactivity, the lack of transparency, the recruiter not hitting the mark, etc. How do you believe that giving your recruitment partner more control and responsibility will impact those challenges and the outcome? And I let him answer. And then I ask a second question. How do you think that working with a single agency and valuing not only the output but also the inputs will impact the quality of the search? And again, I let him answer. And then I ask a final question. How do you think that empowering a recruitment agency and prioritizing quality over quantity will help you to find the right candidate in a candidate-driven market? And again, I let them answer. And this leads us to the last stage before the closing, selling your services, because it is nice to speak about quality or your inputs, but what are you going to do precisely? If you want to sell anything, show them what they are paying for. Don't assume that they know, because they don't know you. And it is a bad habit inherited from contingency recruitment. Contingency recruitment is so common because it was so easy to sell. No commitment, you don't take any risk, just try us. And that was the main argument. But you can't no longer afford this in the current market condition because finding candidates is so hard. Don't devalue yourself. Many clients already associate contingency recruitment with lower quality. So learn how to sell your services and detail what you will be doing step by step. And now we enter the last stage, the closing. And by now, it should be clear for your client that working on a retainer basis is offering the best conditions for you to help them. And at this stage, you want two things. The first one is the opportunity to answer any remaining objections. And the second one is a clear no or a clear yes. And this is why it is so important to make sure that you are speaking to the decision maker at the first place. And so I will ask, how do you feel about it? and I let them talk. And then I ask a second question. Do you believe that this way of working will help to avoid this situation to happen? What do I mean by this situation? I actually use what the client told me earlier when I asked what would happen if the role remains open. So for example, the project gets delayed, we lose money, I don't get my bonus. And then I finalize with a closing line. Do you see any reason for us not to work together? If yes, okay, no problem. I will try to answer the remaining questions or objections. But if it is no, then I want a clear yes. So we can agree on the next step and we can plan everything. And also a last important thing. This video is actually in 2 parts. So you are currently watching the first part on how to pitch a retainer, but there will be a second part on how to get exclusivity. Because as you know, retainer recruitment and exclusivity are often associated, but you can also get exclusivity in contingency recruitment. And even though there are a lot of similarities, the pitch is not the same. So it deserves a dedicated video. So subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Also, it is nice to sell retainers, but the hardest part is yet to come. Finding your candidates. So if you want to know what's my strategy to find my candidates and how I do to deliver on any job, I explain everything in this video.